Hi, I'm Ariah. I work for Drift Leap with our amazing founder, Anne. This is where you go.
Hi, I'm Anne, also known as Driffa sometimes, and I am the founder CEO of Driffa's Leap.
Drift Leap is a new digital marketplace for artists to sell their goods, whether it's a small amount or a large amount. We are competing against the big dogs out there who have forgotten their roots and where they came from. And so we are starting a new company in hopes of supporting all of our friends in the US and Canada, and then creating relationships with other small platforms around the world.
We are completely by artists, for artists, with the artist success in mind. And we are here today with Nicholas.
Yeah.
Nicholas is the owner of Red Troll Forge.
Yeah.
The one and only Grendel.
Yeah.
So what?
I'm Grendel, or otherwise known as Nick Marcelja. I've been blacksmithing for about 30 years now. Started in '95 when Mishka brought out a little portable forge to a fall crown. And then in the spring we did the 25th year thing in Vancouver, and I got a 30 year in Vancouver. And then I got to work on the forge for almost a whole week. And then I made my first knife, which is sitting over there on the table. Took me all week. And then it took me a month to grind it. And then by the next fall, I had most of a full shop going on. So there you go.
Oh, so you went from like 0 to 110 real fast.
Pretty much. All right, so no, I actually did some when I very first started the SCA. My first set of armor was red indoor-outdoor carpet, thus the Red Troll. And I needed big belt buckles. Couldn't find any, or I didn't think about it. And so I took my dad's anvil, which is that little anvil right there, and our fireplace, and threw some bolts in, and bent them around into these D-rings, which everybody thought that, oh crap, he just grabbed those and just bent them. No, I had to get them hot first. So there's that. Camera thing.
Very cool.
And that is to hold. You put your coat hangers on there, and they don't slide around.
That is
Nice.
awesome.
That's
Well, and so and you do blacksmithing outside of this medieval society.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of the examples that you do outside of it?
I make custom knives, swords, just general blacksmithing. I've done window grates, railings, fireplace grates. This weird little, I need this widget. Okay, there you go. There's your widget. Your left-handed widget or whatever. And I also teach classes. So a one-day class, I teach someone how to make a knife, or how to make, one-day class, how to make a set of tongs. So that's general blacksmithing or knife making. Or I do axes, and also Damascus or pattern welded steel.
Why'd you decide to join Drift Leap?
Well, Drift is cool. Also, it's yet another place I can advertise and have people like see stuff without going through the modern commercial stuff that started out as good deals, but now I'm sorry, but Etsy started a long time ago, and I never had any success at it, and now they're charging like crazy or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. I did it like twice and went, oh, that didn't work.
Very neat.
what is something that you've done now as a blacksmith that you never could have pictured yourself doing?
Well, going on the Forge and Fire show was one thing. It was like, wow, I got on there. I applied for season 3, went through the whole process, nothing happened. So I applied for season 4, which is, you go, hi, I want to be on the show. They send you back, here's 20 questions, you email them back. Then they came back with, hey, let's do a 10-minute phone interview. So I did that. Then it's, hey, can you set up a video? I had to go buy a video camera because I didn't have one. And they do a little video interview, which is like some assistant producer, which is asking you questions. So my wife's listening, and the interviewer said, we could use a little more energy. I'm like, okay. And I figured that's why if you watch the show, I'm doing all this stuff. I figured at some point they'd go,
Calm down.
nope, never did.
Really?
There's a cameraman on each of the 4 contestants for that first segment. That's 12 hours that gets cut to a 10-minute segment. So I'm going, they just cut what they don't want.
Yeah.
I figured I'm just going to have fun, and a lot of people went, yeah, he's in his manic phase. Here we go, okay.
Is Forged in Fire the most intimidating thing you've ever done in your art?
Intimidating. I've made several of the Norse-style twisted Damascus swords, which are the Sutton Hoo sword is the example everybody quotes. It has in the center it has 4 bars which are twisted, straight, and those are put together to make the pattern. On the other side of the blade are another 4 bars that are twisted differently and put together, and then there's another edge that goes around it. So it's constructed. So I did one that had 4 bars in the center and an edge loop. And I've done that 3 or 4 times. And those are like, oh, is this going to work? Is this going to work? And about halfway through, you're going, it's all coming apart. Which is why a lot of the times you hear the sword shattering. Well, it's not shattering like we think of breaking like into little fragments. It's all those pieces coming apart.
Oh, delamination.
Delamination. So you're getting like different bars going, probably. It's not like it shatters like a piece of glass. Because they couldn't get steel that high a carbon to do that, but it could delaminate. And again, that's the ones we found are grave finds for probably jarls and kings and stuff. So they're probably the high end of the swords. Pattern weld steel. You take 2 different steels, layer them together, forge them together, get them hot. They weld together and then become one steel with different layers in them, and you can make neat patterns. Before about 1700, you had to do that because you had crappy iron. You fold it and twist it and do things to make a decent steel. In Europe, it was the height of it. It was around Damascus or pattern welded steel. It's Norse blades. I want to say the height of it was like 700 AD, 800. No, yeah, 700 AD. And it started disappearing because they got better at making big chunks of steel. They didn't have to do all the twisting and folding. By 1100, it disappeared completely because they could make solid steel. In Japan, you get all the folding of its Japanese-style swords. That's to take the really crappy iron and try to make a decent steel out of it. And they lose, for a 2 or 3 pound sword, they start with a 20-pound block. And they lose that much, just goes away. Because stuff squirting out the sides and, oh, here's this big chunk. Well, half of it is, okay, we can't use that. Here's a bunch of iron, okay, we can use that. Here's a little piece of steel, which is high carbon steel. And a lot of the folding is to spread the carbon out to make a uniform steel. Yeah, the layers don't really add all that much strength to it. It just is trying to make a decent steel. In 17 something or other, the Bessemer process, where they could melt the iron ore to liquid, now all the carbon evens out. And that was like, instead of making 10 or 100 pounds of steel at once, you make tons at a time and continuously. Literally, the Bessemer process is 24/7. They just keep pouring steel out. So that's why a lot of it disappeared. The pattern welded Damascus came back in 1800s because you could make shotgun barrels with it. You could wrap this around in spirals and make a barrel. And it made really pretty patterns on it.
Oh, that's really cool.
And that only lasted like maybe 20 years before they got better gunpowder, which blew those barrels apart.
Do people underestimate how long it takes?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. It's also because there's a whole bunch of modern factory swords, factory blades that are going for a nice sword is like $300. I'm like, no, that's 2 weeks of my work to make a plain steel sword. So I want to make X amount per day. That's $2,000 right there. And that's working 8-hour days, which I don't usually do. I just do like 4 or 5 before my back says no. I had a sword I made, a few years ago that was a Damascus, the pattern welded Norse sword. And I had Patrick Conlon, Duke Torgal, do the hilt for it. So it was a copper base, gold plated with silver inlay. I can actually show you the page in the Swords of the Viking Age, page like 34. And I said, hey, make something like that. He made a museum replica of literally you could look at the original page and go, nope, that's an exact copy. It ended up to be a very heavy sword. It's like way heavier than it should be. But it actually matched all the parameters. I'm like, Could have been just a heavy sword that was meant to be buried with the king.
Yeah.
Well, that was one that sold last year for like 7,000. I asked 10, but of course no one wanted it. My first is the one you just underneath what you picked up. That one. That is my first ever knife, made at 30th year. The blade at 30th year, I had to go home and grind it. And that's cable Damascus. So my first piece of metal, first piece project was cable Damascus, which is sort of backwards. You really shouldn't start at that end of stuff, but whatever.
And it's sax.
Basically a sax, so it's sharp on the straight edge there. And it's long because it got long and I didn't want to cut it down. It actually got about this long. I actually folded it over on itself to weld it.
Nice.
So I did a whole bunch of advanced stuff. Now, the handle, like, of course, I want Purple Heart because it's purple. It's also, within a year or two, it split. So it just sat around in the shop for like 10 years. Recently put a new handle on it.
All right. So what's the weirdest thing you've ever had somebody ask you to make?
I have done manacles with a chain with manacles. One other one was actually a slave collar from the slave trade. And it's just this big spring that goes in and clicks together. So it's not, you could get out of it if someone wasn't paying attention. I guess there was a African American History Museum somewhere. I want to say in Oregon somewhere, but they wanted one as an example on the wall. So I made a slave collar.
You mentioned Torgal. Is he
Yeah.
one of the people that encouraged you into the art?
A little bit, because I started in the SCA in '79 when I went to college, and he had been doing it literally since he was a kid. And he started doing his jewelry work, and he was really, really good at it. He made some nice stuff. I don't know if that really encouraged me, but when I started, I ran into the person who brought the little forge out was Mishka, Master, who then became Master Mishka, whatever. And he brought the forge out. We worked together, did a bunch of stuff, and so I really was more interested in the general blacksmithing, like making railings and tools and things like that. But he did knives, so I learned how to do Damascus knives first, which is sort of backwards on the scale of skill levels. You know, knife making is a limited subset of the general blacksmithing skills, but you use those to extremes. And then, of course, a lot of grinding and polishing, which you don't need to use in general smithing.
So Mishka passed away about 10, 12 years
Something
ago?
like that, yeah.
And I know you did a memorial for him, kind of with your forge
Yeah,
at
yeah.
An event up in Woodland, Washington. And you got a lot of people involved, and I think that really touched a lot of people, that you set up the whole thing and had everybody come and
Go and pound on a piece of metal in honor of Mishka.
Yeah.
Because we used to do like the forge parties. So after everything sort of shut down, we'd have a propane forge going, and we get a bunch of people drinking and having fun pounding on. At a certain point, we realized, let's just have a garbage piece of metal, just because it's going to get mangled. But a bunch of pipers going, belly dancers going, everybody fighting and playing around, and team hammering. Let me pound on this for just a second. So, of course, the ever popular tent stakes. So this is drawing out or tapering into a nice point. So it goes into the ground a little bit easier. So you can see how it, so it starts darkening pretty quick.
So it's really windy here this weekend.
That is a little bit, it's really windy, so that's why everybody wants the big tent stakes.
So everybody's asking for this, and yeah, they're $8 a piece, I understand.
Yep.
And how long do they take you?
Well, that's one heat to make the point. And then to make the bend on the other end is another 1, maybe 2 heats. So that's, what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. But that's also knowing how to do it. I have one of my apprentices doing these. It takes him like 20 minutes. And now for this one, I need this little widget here to help out. Because I want to, of course, have like the same size tent stakes.
Yep.
I don't want that part to change shape, so cool that off. Drive the steel into the corner to make
The hook.
to make.
Really cool.
Well, you see a lot of them people, and they have just this candy cane look.
Yeah.
But then when you're hitting it, you're not hitting down
Yeah.
that. You're hitting off of it,
Yep.
which is why it wants to do all that stuff. This, all the force goes down the shaft.
That's
And
brilliant.
I think it's much better. I also charge a little bit more because it takes me that much to do.
I don't
Just a curved one, you just pretty quick. Yeah, if the smaller ones they want to bend and stuff. All the commercial ones, you get those little stupid little
Yeah.
stakes.
yeah.
All right.